Look at this landscape, defined by the dust of thousands of hooves. The early Aryans who migrated into the Indian subcontinent were not city builders. They were a highly mobile, pastoral force. We can trace their early presence to river valleys like this one, set against arid mountain ranges. The geography dictated their daily survival strategies. Earlier populations, like the people of the Indus Valley, anchored themselves to permanent urban centers. The early Vedic society had to keep moving to secure fresh pastures for their massive herds. This semi-nomadic phase forms the early Vedic period. The logic developed during these centuries established the baseline for much of later Indian social organization. Because they were constantly relocating, the society could not rely on static land ownership to distribute power. Instead, they built a fluid, merit-based ecosystem driven entirely by cattle wealth. Geography and mobility served as their operational baseline. Those two factors alone dictated every major social development of the era, from a high degree of gender parity to the original design of the varna system. Without permanent plots of land to inherit, the early Vedic economy required a mobile currency. Livestock functioned as the absolute metric for a tribe's financial power. The individual who commanded the most cattle held the most influence. A wealthy person earned the title gomat, a word derived directly from the Sanskrit root for cow. This meant warfare was strictly an act of asset acquisition. Tribes did not fight over territorial borders. They fought to capture each other's herds. This diagram illustrates how central the cow was to their vocabulary. The Rig Vedic word for war is gavisti. It literally translates to the search for cows. That economic focus extended into the domestic unit. A daughter was assigned the term duhiche, which defined her specific role as the one who milks the cow. To protect this economic engine, the civilization wrapped the animal in spiritual protection. The cow was designated aganya, meaning not to be killed. However, cultural codes sometimes conflicted. Under the strict principle of hospitality, or atithi devo bhava, guests were occasionally served beef. A guest was therefore called gogna. Beyond pastoralism, the economy supported highly specific crafts. Carpenters built the chariots needed for raids. Weavers spun wool and cotton, and goldsmiths facilitated trade using units of gold called nishka. The tools of this era were forged entirely from copper and bronze. Iron had not yet been discovered in the subcontinent. When an entire civilization's wealth is mobile and vulnerable to theft, its language, technology, and daily labor evolve to acquire and protect that specific wealth. The family unit was patriarchal, led by a male head known as the grahapati. Society placed a high premium on producing brave sons, referred to as suvir. The intense desire for male heirs was practical. Constant cattle raids required a steady supply of strong fighters to defend the tribe's assets. Yet this intense need for male warriors did not diminish the agency of women. They maintained high status, holding both educational and political influence. The restrictive practices seen in later centuries did not exist here. The historical record shows no evidence of child marriage or the practice of sati during the early Vedic period. Women exercised direct political authority. They participated in the tribal assemblies, the sabha and samiti, and independently performed sacred rituals. This text shows early verses of the Rig Veda. Women were active scholars who composed sections of the world's oldest living scripture. The scripture explicitly records the names of female poets, like Apala, Visvavara, Gosha, and Lopamudra. They authored verses and performed theological duties entirely on their own intellectual authority. The Rig Vedic patriarchy operated under the constraints of tribal utility. A harsh, mobile environment dictated that any capable individual, regardless of gender, held undeniable value. As the Aryans migrated, they encountered indigenous populations. The earliest social division was based on physical appearance. The Sanskrit word varna translates to color, distinguishing the fair-skinned Aryans from the darker-skinned locals. The Aryans referred to these native tribes as the dasa or dasyu. Following military defeats, these groups were absorbed into society as the Shudra class. Within the Aryan tribe itself, a distinct division of labor formed. Priests served as Brahmins, fighters became Kshatriyas, and the common people handling agriculture and trade organized as Vaishyas. A late addition to the Rig Veda, known as the Purusha Sukta, formalized this structural division. It describes a celestial being, the Purusha, whose body parts map out the entire social hierarchy. From the Purusha's mouth came the Brahmins, holding spiritual authority. From the arms came the Kshatriyas, executing the defensive strength of the warriors. The thighs generated the Vaishyas to support the economic weight of society, while the feet formed the Shudras, the laboring class grounding the entire structure. However, this early varna system was entirely fluid. A person's classification was determined by their daily occupation and skill set, not by the family they were born into. It operated as a practical division of labor, designed to keep a mobile tribe efficient. It was a functional contract, far removed from the rigid, birth-based caste system that would emerge later. The Rig Vedic era functioned as a pastoral meritocracy. Social classes remained permeable, and the agency of women stayed high, because the tribe required everyone's active contribution to survive. That dynamic shifted when the semi-nomadic tribes stopped moving. As they discovered iron and transitioned to settled agriculture, they established permanent territorial kingdoms. Land replaced cattle as the primary metric of power. Unlike a herd of cows, a tract of land is static. It is easy to enclose, control, and pass down through a strict hereditary lineage. With the economy tied to stationary borders, society calcified. The flexible occupational classes hardened into a birth-based caste system, and the political freedoms previously held by women were systematically curtailed. We have to understand this early baseline of fluidity to accurately measure the severe decline in women's status during the later Vedic period. The Rig Vedic society demonstrates that strict human hierarchies are rarely inevitable. They are structural choices, shaped entirely by a civilization's environment and its economy.